Thanks for checking out the Ideal Impact Podcast, where we discuss 5 key skills and the impact they can have on your life, as well as some major issues in society. You ready to get after it?
Hey everybody, so it is just me today. Randy and Brian are both busy and we have a new cadence. So we're going to be recording 4 shows a month and releasing one every week, but we're only going to be recording twice a month. So October 11th, we're going to be recording our first 2 shows for the month, and then October 18th, that following week. But for now, you get me, and then we're going to have a week off. So today I wanted to talk about something that's really been bothering me for a long time here, and moving into things that align better with the direction that we're taking the show. One thing that's been going on right now in our country, well, it's been going on for a very long time, and realistically, it's been going on for the extent of human history. But more recently, we're seeing more intentional divide caused by our government, by the media, and they're using new things. They're basically weaponizing new technology and everything that comes out. And obviously, this is my opinion and just my thoughts on this matter. So don't take everything that I say as, science or fact or anything like that. I just want to probe people to start thinking about things in a logical manner and questioning what's going on in our country, in our society. And some of these things apply not only to our society and our country here in the United States, but some of them apply to many different societies and many different countries. But think about what we're seeing going on here in the globalization of the world. So as the world becomes more technologically connected, you see more of a global society rather than individual countries. And do our individual societies still exist? Absolutely. However, that constant connectivity is bringing things closer and closer together. So now a society, in China or Russia or the UK or wherever it may be, doesn't seem so far away and so disconnected. So think about that from, before the internet. How, when I was a kid in the 90s, before the internet became really a big thing, that those cultures, those societies, those places seemed so far away, and I had no clue. But now you can literally go online and you can watch videos from those places, you can learn about them. Those things don't seem so far away. So as we're seeing this in the United States, some of those other countries are seeing some of the same things as well, is my point. And we're reliant on those other countries more and more as well. So from not only an export and an import standpoint, but from what's going on in the world, reporting cultural changes, reporting news that's going on in those places, especially when we get, when COVID was going on, that was a huge example of the connectivity that we were experiencing, because we knew how every country around the world was handling it, at least what we were shown on mainstream media, the few truly unbiased news outlets that you can find as well. But I just think about this where this is a conspiracy theory, but it's based on logical thought. And I'm pulling something up on my phone right now because I basically texted some of this to myself a while back, and I just haven't really gotten the opportunity to put it out there. So think about this, some of these things here. So, all right. So hypothetically, if there was, let's say that just in this situation, there is a deep state that is hell-bent on a new world order, that is hell-bent on controlling people, that is just hell-bent on gaining more and more power. And let's say, hypothetically, they don't want to just come out and try a violent takeover, because in reality, that wouldn't work. And here's the thing. So this is why the Second Amendment is so important. It protects us against tyranny. You may not understand that. You may not believe that. You may have a different thought on it. But when we look back at history, that's exactly what it's there for. And that's exactly what it's done in the past. Think about it from, when we go to the Second Amendment and how important it is. In World War II, there was a Japanese admiral that, after they bombed Pearl Harbor, he basically said, well, shit, we've awoken the beast now. And I believe it was the same person that also said that no one has ever invaded mainland America because there would be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Now, even in World War II, the military had more sophisticated weapons than the civilian population of the United States. So if you look at the Japanese military, they had some of the best ships in the world at the time. They had planes, they had everything that you could need in World War II to be successful in a war from a military standpoint. However, they did not want to invade the United States mainland because they knew that they would get their asses handed to them because we as civilians in the United States are very heavily armed. And if you don't think that's taken into consideration when countries are still thinking about these things, then you're wrong. Also, if you don't think that our government thinks about that when it comes to stripping us of our rights or coming in and basically doing anything that would be deemed as unconstitutional or threatening to our rights as citizens, that they don't take these things into consideration. So think about this. And yeah, you might say, oh, well, we have F-35. Well, the fucking government they don't even know where their F-35s are, as we've learned. They have created stealth so good that they can't even detect it. And they had no plan in place for what happened after that pilot ejected and the plane just kept friggin' flying itself and they couldn't locate it. So let's not give them too much credit here. And here's the other thing too. Yes, they may have more sophisticated weapons. Yes, blah, blah, blah. However, they are still outgunned and outnumbered, which is a huge reason why we need to protect and maintain the right of the Second Amendment. But again, back to the point at hand, hypothetically, if there was a deep state, I truly believe that there is, and they wanted to basically overthrow or control the citizens slowly and to strip us of our rights without really alarming us immediately. And this is something that I think has been going on for decades. This has been going on for a very, very long time, but we're seeing it happen faster and faster because of technological advances, because of science that has been studied on human behavior and how to control people. So again, think about it. So if that was you, so you're the part of the deep state and you're like, hey, how do we go about this? How do we go about this without really alarming people? So here's some of the things, right? So if it were me, I would dismantle mental health institutes, which happened back in the 1980s. And since then, we have seen a massive uptick in violent crime, a massive uptick in drug abuse, and things happening in society that wouldn't happen if those people had proper care and proper places to go. Now, back in the day, do I think mental health institutes were great places with proper care or anything like that? No, absolutely not. So this is what I would do in that case. I think instead of sending billions and billions of dollars overseas to other countries to fight wars that aren't ours, maybe we invest some of that money in our own country to provide care with people that are now currently wandering around the streets. You go to any major city and you see it, screaming at themselves, scaring the shit out of other citizens, making people not want to go down there, sleeping on the street, all over, shitting in the street, making the city just a terrible, terrible place. And listen, it's sad. I'm not blaming those people for the problems that they have mentally. However, I am blaming our country for not providing them with some level of care and just leaving them out on the streets. And it's even worse because in the South and nice warm weather cities, it's 10 times worse. I was in Austin this year. We're walking to the hotel for an event that I was going to. I mean, there was just people sleeping on the sidewalk and pissing themselves and screaming and talking. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, we have to be able to do better as a country. And think about how many of those people are homeless veterans. But we're shipping billions of dollars overseas. And especially when what is it now, 33 trillion or 16 trillion? I don't even know at that point. Does the number even matter once you get into the trillions? We are that far in debt as a country, yet somehow we keep coming up with billions and billions of dollars to send to the Ukraine and fight a war that isn't ours. It makes no sense. So that's number one. I would shut down mental health facilities, which our government did in the 1980s. Then I would start a crack and I'd start a crack epidemic first, right? So that happened, and it's basically been proven that the government did that. The CIA was involved in starting the crack epidemic, and that impacted inner city people more than anybody. And that is the Black community that was affected by the crack epidemic. Yet somehow we still want to support the government and think they have our best interests in mind. And unfortunately, many people in that community, inner cities in general, cities, I should say, still vote liberal. Your cities are falling apart. Your cities are shitholes, and you still vote Democrat. Make that make sense. But anyway, so we have dismantling health institutes. We started the crack epidemic. We sat on the sidelines, and I'm saying we, as the deep state and the government, sat on the sidelines and watched the opioid epidemic absolutely explode and didn't do shit about it when it was the oxycodone, whatever, oxy, that really launched that to a whole new level. The government just sat by and basically let it happen. Didn't do shit. I'm sorry, but why couldn't you? I don't give a fuck what's going on when you have clear evidence that people are selling, they're pushing heroin. I mean, that's what it is. It's heroin in a pill form. And they just sat by and didn't do shit about it. I mean, it's absolutely, now it's to the point where not only do they sit by and not do anything about it, they give people needles. And I understand that, yes, maybe, clean needle is better than a dirty needle, but how about we, again, take the billions and billions and billions of dollars that we're sending overseas and try to do something at home to clean up the opioid epidemic, which is being shipped over through our southern border from the cartels. And now there is plenty of evidence to support the fact that fentanyl, that heroin, some of those things might be coming from China. Now, if you're China, wouldn't that be a great way to have a massive negative impact on a society that you eventually want to overtake? Why not partner with the drug cartels to ship fentanyl that will kill you at a very minuscule dosage into the United States? And they're putting it in pills and stuff that these kids are buying online. They're finding them on Snapchat. They think they're buying ecstasy. They're buying fentanyl. They freaking do X one time, they die. It is absolutely crazy. So, and who's not to say that, hey, if I was part of the deep state, why not partner up with China and say, hey, why don't you guys partner up with the cartel? And if you think the CIA and stuff isn't capable of coordinating these things, you're wrong. Anyway, so let's continue. So another thing that I would do is basically, and this is done through the media and through social media and through coercion, but I would get everybody to place themselves and other people in some sort of box. And I do that by labeling. Everybody's got a label now. You're a conservative, you're a liberal, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're straight, you're gay, you're LGBTQ, you're black, you're white. Stop labeling, stop putting putting labels on everyone and yourself. Just how about we remember for a little while that we are all human beings? Dr. Phil did something very interesting with this, where he took there was two groups of students that were basically beefing on the internet, talking shit about each other, and it got really, really ugly. Well, what he did was he brought them into a room together and had them just stare at each other in the face. I think it was 60 seconds or 5 minutes, something along that time, which, if you've never done that before, just stare someone in the face and without being able to speak for that long, it's an uncomfortable amount of time, even 60 seconds. And at the end of that, what they realized was, hey, that's actually a human being across from me, not a Republican, not a Democrat. They are a human being that I have been treating like garbage through the internet because I'm a giant pussy and I sit behind a keyboard and think that I'm a tough guy because of that. But once they got in person, and I say this shit all the time, I tell people this: don't say anything on the internet that you wouldn't be willing to say somebody's face. But people don't do that, right? Because they know if they say it to somebody's face, there's a chance that they're going to get punched in the mouth, and they're too soft to handle that. So again, if you wouldn't say it to my face, don't say it to me on the internet or anybody else. And I get that shit all the time in the comments on social media and everything. I'm like, this person, if they were standing in front of me right now, there's no way in hell. And the best part is it's typically that somebody that either doesn't have a profile picture at all, or their profile picture is some bullshit background because, again, they're too big of a pussy to actually say anything to my face or anybody else's face. The other thing with that I want to touch on really quick, and this goes into the labeling, is the blatant fucking racism that I see now on the internet. I post a video comparing two people who were convicted of crimes. One happened to be black, one happened to be white. One was a rapist that got 180 days in jail, and one was part of the January 6th Capitol storming, if you want to call it that. And the guy from January 6th got 17 years in prison, while the rapist, who raped underage girls, by the way, got 180 days in jail. What the fuck does it matter what color either one of them are? I was comparing alleged crimes, air quotes, on the January 6th thing, because I don't know the whole story on that guy. What I did hear was he was involved for about 20 minutes, and what his portion of it was completely nonviolent. That's what I read. The other one's pretty self-explanatory. He was a fucking rapist who raped little girls and got 180 days. Now, make that make sense. That has nothing to do with race. The fact that one was black and one was white, it doesn't fucking matter. It's about, and then people are saying black privilege and blah blah blah. Listen, we all have privilege in one situation. Whether I'm tall, so I have certain privileges that short people don't. I'm a man, I have certain privileges that women don't, and women have certain privileges that I don't. Just as short people have privileges that I don't. Black people have privileges that I don't. White people have privileges that black people don't. Yes, that is just part of human nature. It's an unfortunate part of human nature, but it's a part of reality and it's a part of society. We all have some of that. But if we stop calling it out and stop labeling it and just start again acting like human beings and treating each other like that, and then some of those things will eventually go away. But again, we're too busy being divided by using our energy, attention, money, focus on arguing with each other and wasting our time, effort, and energy on fucking racism, that we're too blinded and too tired to actually realize that the reality is most of us just want to be happy. And if we did that and we realize, hey, I just want to be happy, I want you to be happy, let's come together and let's try to figure this shit out, and let's realize that we are not the enemies here, then we can maybe make some eventual progress. And the problem with that is too many people say, oh, well, trying to get everyone to do that, it's impossible. Well, so I'm just going to go about my business and live my life. Well, if you do it and then you influence two other people to do it and they influence two other people to do it, you can make some real fucking growth. It's way better, or real progress. It's way better than sticking your head in the sand and not doing shit about it and watching the fucking world burn around you because you think that you're wasting your time, effort, and energy. When in reality, you're probably sitting at home watching Netflix, stuffing your face with processed foods and all that fucking garbage, making the entire situation worse. So why not take action and try to make it better? Even if it doesn't get better, at least you did something and you didn't waste your life doing nothing. All right, so here we're going to continue on the conspiracy theory. So again, let's just refresh for a second. Dismantle mental health institutes, start a crack epidemic, start an opioid epidemic, label everyone in society. That way, they're fighting with each other because, oh, you're just a fucking liberal and you're just a Republican and blah 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 blah. That they don't fight against you, so that's smart. And then let's take it a next step further. Let's indoctrinate them through the school system so they become in the box thinkers, therefore good employees that are never going to go out, do more for themselves, break free from the matrix. They're just going to become cogs in your machine. That's exactly what we're seeing in schools now. And at one point that made sense, right? So in the Industrial Revolution, the school systems then became a thing and they were looking to fill factory type roles. Our society, and we've talked about this before, but our society has evolved from that. But our school system, our education has not evolved for that. You're still looked at kind of crazy if you go off and try to do something on your own and you don't follow the norm. You don't go to college. I remember feeling that pressure when I got out of high school. It's like, well, fuck, I had FOMO. I thought I was going to miss out on this epic experience with college. And I can't go back and change it, nor would I want to, because in my situation, I met some of the best people in my life that are I'm an only child. So my brothers are my friends that I went to college with. My best friend Andy, his son is my godson. His daughter is my wife's goddaughter. So I wouldn't change that experience for the world. However, for me and my growth, I knew that college wasn't the thing, but I was so indoctrinated to the fact that I'm going to miss out on an epic experience and I'm never going to be successful if I don't go to college, that I did it. And I buried myself in $85,000 worth of debt. I was blessed enough to be able to pay that off and work hard at that. But that is not the point. The point is they don't want free thinkers. They want you thinking very inside the box. And part of that is demonstrated in the classroom. Like you can't If you think about things, if you question things, sometimes that can be looked at very negatively. Now, there are some teachers out there that do promote those things, but again, most of the school systems don't give a shit about teaching you anything. The only thing they care about at this point in time are standardized scores and grades. Now it's getting to the point where they're skewing that shit so much they don't even give a fuck if you actually know it, as long as they can skew the numbers. Like in California, that's a great example. We've talked about this one before. They will not fail you. They won't give you even D's. You get an A, B, or C, and they're basically just pushing people through the school systems. And even the ratings on those grades are so fucked up now. Instead of addressing the problem, again, we live in an instant gratification society. They just ignore it. They ignore the problem. They change they change the standards and expectations to the point where the numbers still look great, even though they're producing complete idiots out of these systems. It's disgusting. And I know that Callie and I, when we have kids, by the time they're old enough to start school, there is no way that I am putting them in the school system. No, it's not happening. Ideally, I would love to, and people are going to think I'm a fucking nut job and I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist, but I would love to have a huge piece of property with some really close friends that we raise our kids together and we teach them how to actually be successful in life, not memorize fucking math equations that they're never going to use and all that stuff. Do they need some of that stuff? Absolutely. I'm not saying kids shouldn't be able to read and write and do math and everything, but what is actually going to benefit them more as far as success? Learning entrepreneurship, learning about taxes, learning about how to grow their own food, learning about nature, or learning some ridiculous math equation that they're never going to use again in their entire life. I can tell you that I consider myself to be successful. I'm very happy. Am I extremely financially successful? No, not yet, but I am making progress in that remark and I'm happier than ever. I owe none of that to anything that I learned in school. That is all things that I've learned on my own and by surrounding myself with the right people and getting actual real life experience. So why not give that to kids at a much younger age? All right, so moving on down the list. Let's poison them through their food. So let's make them fat and obese and give them chronic diseases by adding all of these bullshit additives and processing their food to the point where their body doesn't even recognize it. Think about the fact that human beings have been evolving for hundreds of thousands of years on whole foods because there was not processed foods didn't exist again. And so sometime in I mean, you can technically, it depends on how you want to define processed food, right? Definitely, like natural bread is technically a processed food because you have to process wheat in order to make it bread, wheat and flour and all of that stuff. However, let's just think about this from today's standpoint. There is Dave's Killer Bread, and then there is the store brand bread that is full of ingredients that you absolutely can't read. Our bodies as human beings have evolved on eating whole foods. We eat eggs, we eat meat, we eat fruit, we eat vegetables, we eat grains, we eat legumes and beans. Legumes, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Peanuts, that type of thing. So if you're putting all of this shit in your body, Twinkies and Ho-Hos and ice cream and pizza and all of this crap that you buy in the store today, your body cannot process that the way it is intended. It is not possible. And you're weakening our society. If you just go back, look at a baseball game, look at the crowd in a baseball game in the 1950s. You will very rarely see obese people. Now, if you just walk down the fucking street, most of the people that you see are obese. And it's because of, well, a lack of ownership, because realistically, it comes down to you taking care of your own body. But society is not helping. They're not helping by pushing processed foods. They're not helping by pushing pharmaceuticals. They're not helping by not focusing on the important things. So they're definitely not helping. But the thing is, just like anything else, yeah, you may be poor. It doesn't mean you can't be wealthy. Yeah, you may be fat. It doesn't mean you can't be healthy. It's up to you to take control of that shit. And that's a whole other story, is the lack of ownership in the country. But we'll leave it at that for right now. Let's make them weak and prone to disease. We just talked about that. And then let's distract them through the media and through entertainment. So why would you want to focus? Like, I've literally heard some people say this, and I've thought it myself. Why bother? Why focus on this shit? Like, what's truly going on in the country? Why? I have no control over it. Listen, there are days where I feel that same fucking way, but something inside of me, I can't bury my head in the sand. And I'm not saying, listen, if you do that, and you're happy with your life, listen, I'm not telling you to do anything different. I'm not telling you you should do the things that I do. I'm not telling you you should speak up like I do. I'm just saying I can't do that personally. It would bother me more to not know what's going on, to not speak up about it, to not have a voice, to not try to do something than it would by just burying my head in the sand and pretending to be happy. But think about all the things that we have at our fingertips now. We have the internet, we have social media, we can watch football anytime we want, baseball, sports, whatever you want to do, reality TV, Netflix, podcasts. Ironic that I'm saying that. But there is so much going on in our society that we watch that stuff because it's light and it's joyous and it's happy and it makes us feel good, but we're ignoring the real things. And even when we do see the real problems and the real issues in society, they have made us feel, and by they, I mean the government, deep state, the media, whoever it is, they've made us feel, so powerless to do anything against it that most people do just want to bury their heads in the sand, or they'll say some shit on social media but not actually take action. And I know there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, well, you're one of those people, you're just a talking head, you're not taking any action. Bullshit. By doing this stuff and pointing these things out and getting people to think logically, we are doing something. And on top of that, we're also helping support of our veteran community. So Randy, Brian, and I are all veterans, but we see so many people that do not have it as good as we do. Am I the richest man in the world, or any of us? No. Do we have the nicest things? No. But we're in a position where we can help, and we're actually taking action to do that by hosting events to raise money to donate back to the veteran community and do something that honestly our government should be doing. It's bullshit that we even have to do that. Again, I'm going to point out that we send billions of dollars overseas, but we don't take care of our veterans at home. So think about that one as well. Anyway, so we're entertained, we're distracted. And then now let's take it a step further and let's test our level of control. So we've weakened it, and there's so much more that goes into what I just said, or than I just said. There's so much more that goes into this, but let's leave it at those things for right now. Now let's test it. Let's test how much control we have over these people before we do anything too crazy. So let's start a pandemic, right? Listen, there are people out there that lost loved ones during COVID. There are people that died from COVID, from the actual virus. Yes. Are there people that died from that? Yes, absolutely. However, the percentage of the people that actually died from COVID that did not have an underlying health issue like obesity, like respiratory issues, diabetes, was asthma, stuff like that. Listen, I get it. Like, I get it. Asthma is not something that you can necessarily control having. Same thing with obesity, and very few cases in obesity, but typically if you're obese, it's on you. You can do something about it. Very rare cases, there's nothing that you can do. But even then, you should be doing everything that you can to try to keep it from getting out of control. However, that's another thing. Then they basically got everyone to fight against each other. They labeled each other anymore. They made it so easy to label you that if you didn't have a mask on, if you refused to comply with that bullshit, or you refused to get a vaccine, you were labeled and you were put in a box. And they were not only did they wanted to fucking know who was vaccinated and who wasn't. So again, they can control you. There were countries that were putting people in fucking camps like in Australia or New Zealand, somewhere over there, if you didn't get the vaccine. Can you fucking think about that? Now, think about that happening in the United States. Can you truly imagine them coming around and trying to round people up and put them in camps in the United States? I can't. Well, I mean, I can I can imagine them actually trying, but I can't imagine it going well now. You know why? Because we have the Second Amendment. And I know for a fucking fact, if someone came to my door, or many of the people that I know, their door, and said, hey, you're coming with us because you refuse to get vaxxed, over my dead fucking body. Absolutely not going to happen. Because guess what? In 2020, I had COVID. I take extremely good care of myself, and it did not impact me that much. So you can get fucked. Your Your health is your responsibility. It is not mine. It is not the fucking government's responsibility. The government is there to protect our constitutional rights and provide us with infrastructure. If you ask my opinion on the matter, that is it. When it comes to my health, that's on me. We shouldn't, the government needs to be involved. You realize, I hope everyone out there realizes that the less the government is involved in certain things, the better off we are. But that means that we have to take the responsibility on ourselves, self-govern, and treat each other like fucking human beings, which again, unfortunately we're at a point in this country where we can't do that. It's so sad that we can't do that. But again, so we tested through that. We slowly strip them of their rights. We make them wear masks. We force them to lock themselves inside. We fucking get their businesses shut down because they can't be maintained through COVID for some of them, unfortunately. So that's what they start testing it. Here's another one. Here's something that I love, and I'm gonna put this in there. So they've confirmed that they're in control here, and we are not anymore. And here's a prime example of that. Now, if you imagine this, can you imagine the Jeffrey Epstein case happening in, let's say, the 1940s, during World War II, post World War II? Can you imagine that happening and us just doing nothing as a fucking society? We know, we know that this man was trafficking, and him and many others that were involved were trafficking young girls all over the world, making money, so much money off of it, and we haven't done shit. We don't know who the fucking clients were. He fucking allegedly killed himself in prison. Even if he did kill himself, they fucking did it on purpose because the camera wasn't working. And then nothing has happened. Nothing has fucking happened to these people, that the criminals that were purchasing underage children. And some of the stories that, if you listen to and you watch any of the documentaries, any of the shit that on it, they were fucking gruesome. Like, some of this shit was gruesome. Like, it was hard for me to listen to it. And that's another thing. Some people are like, I'm not watching that, it's too much. Fucking watch it. You need to watch that shit to understand what the fuck happened in this, who was involved in it, and the fact that we're not fucking doing anything. Because you know why? Because it's the wealthy elite that fucking did it, that are in control, that are shoving it. They're literally waving it in our faces. We did this. We know who did this, and we're not going to do shit about it. And you can't do shit about it either. That's what we're experiencing in our society. So think about it. Go back to the 40s, like I said, and imagine that happening. I don't think that fucking happens if that's the case. That person, Jeffrey Epstein, would have been fucking slaughtered in the street by somebody at that point because he was such a fucking scumbag piece of shit human being. Now, I don't think that should be the case. I think we have to trust the justice that, well, not anymore. Well, I don't trust the justice system anymore. Any part of the government, I have zero trust for it. I don't think they have our best interest in mind. I think we need to go in, we need to clear house, and we need to start over from scratch, and we need to do everything we possibly can to eliminate the corruption, aka the money, in politics. How are people going into politics and becoming ultra wealthy? It does not make any sense to me. That shouldn't be the case, but unfortunately it is. Let's talk about something else real quick. So that's my kind of conspiracy theory. I think this has been going on for a long time. It's working. It's dividing us. We're fighting amongst ourselves. I'm sure people will hate this podcast. I'm sure I catch flack on everything that I say, basically on social media, because again, everybody wants to label me and paint me as a whack job, and I really don't give a shit. The fact that I want to be left alone, that I think the government is corrupt, the fact that I take very good care of myself, and that I am open and authentic and share my opinion. If that makes me crazy, you can call me crazy. I really don't give two shits about it. I just think your time, energy, and effort would be better suited talking with me instead of trying to fight against me. All right, so here's the other thing. Feinstein, whatever her name is, she died the other day. She was still in office. She was 90 fucking years old. We have elderly people running this country. Mitch McConnell, who has strokes on TV. We have Joe Biden, who literally, I mean, the man can no longer form a sentence, and it's sad. And listen, here's the thing. And here, this is my favorite one. Every time not every time, but a lot of videos that people, you fucking MAGA, Trump supporter, blah, blah. I've never voted for Trump. I don't plan on voting for him in the upcoming election. Not that any of this is your business, but I'm going to share it because I don't care. I don't plan on voting for Trump either. He is also older. He is a wealthy billionaire who is not truly connected to real people in society. Do I think he's a much better option than Joe Biden at this point? I mean, a freaking broomstick with no broom, just a stick. I don't even need the sweepy part. Is a better fucking option than Joe Biden. The man cannot form a sentence. He is senile, and it's sad. It's honestly sad. Our political landscape has become a fucking laughing stock. The best part of our administration and the people in politics right now are the memes that we get out of it. Like the Mitch McConnell memes, fucking hilarious. Like it's hilarious. It's sad that the man is so old that he's having strokes on live TV. Is that sad? Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't know him personally, so it doesn't really bother me, but it bothers me from as a citizen of my country to watch this fucking clown show go on from the last, I mean, fuck, it's been going on for a long time, but it's progressively getting worse. Like, I mean, if you really think about it, going back to, because when I was a kid, I can barely remember George Bush Sr. I very vividly have memories of, Bill Clinton, and then moving into George Bush and Obama. But just think about that track record and where we've gone. We're just getting progressively more focused on the entertainment piece of politics instead of the actual realistic portion of politics. RFK, if you've listened to RFK Jr. for any period of time and you think that man is an idiot, I truly don't think there's any help for you. Does he have some views on things like the Second Amendment that I don't agree with? Yes, 100%. However, if the system works as it was originally designed to do, then he wouldn't be able to do. He didn't have control. The people would have control. We have other people, other elected officials that are there for checks and balances. So if he thinks, well, yeah, if something came across that would ban assault weapons, and that shouldn't happen because it would be unconstitutional. So I'm not too concerned about that. But what I am concerned about is the fact that the man is in great health. He's 69 years old. He seems very connected with reality and what's going on in the world. He was an environmental attorney who's done a lot of good for the country, especially in the Hudson River and cleaning that disaster up, and then advocating for safe vaccines. That's the biggest thing. This man is painted as a conspiracy theorist, another freaking label tossed around about society when somebody has a thought or an opinion that you don't agree with. Oh, there's a crazy conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy theorist, air quotes, because he wants safe vaccines. He's not anti-vaccine. He wants them to be safe. And right now, many of the vaccines that you're pumping into your children are full of mercury. And the reason why they claim that it's safe is because it's not detectable in your bloodstream. And it's all because it's going through your blood-brain membrane and getting soaked into your brain and causing health issues. If you want to know more about that, just listen to the man. He's extremely smart, extremely educated, extremely connected, down to earth, in great shape. Like I said, I mean, if you put, let me just ask this. If you put RFK Jr. and Joe Biden and fucking Trump in a room, who's winning that debate? Who? You think Joe Biden? Joe Biden can't, he literally couldn't win a debate against a squirrel. Trump would just blow his own ego up and say funny shit. I mean, Trump says funny shit. And listen, the economy under Trump, huge fan. Loved it. Loved it. I love that part. A lot of his politics, like his views and everything, I was aligned with. He was just represented the country as a pompous asshole. And that's not what I'm about. That's a circus show. Why? There are plenty of people out there that want to be a positive representative. Well, I shouldn't say that. They would be positive representatives. They have great political views. However, most people don't want this fucking job at them anymore. Do you think, who the fuck actually wants to be the president? Like, I know I fucking don't. But back to the original point, RFK Jr., if he ran and like he was a legitimate candidate, which I don't think the Democrats are going to let him get in there because he can't be controlled and manipulated like somebody as brain dead as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Jesus, Murphy. Every time I listen to her, I get dumber. It's just a fact. But anyway, back to the point at hand. RFK Jr. would smoke both of them in a debate. I don't even think it would be a question. And let me ask you this. I mean, just realistic. If you didn't have, I would love to do this experiment. I would love to have a debate Their voices, you can't tell who's saying what. Like their voices are all the same. You can't see them. All that you can do is listen. Do you think in that case, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or RFK Jr., who do you think you would go with? I bet you, I bet you it would be RFK Jr. I just have a strong feeling. After listening to all three of them speak for a long time, I've heard a lot of it. I'm 100% going with RFK. I guarantee you would too if you didn't know who he was. But anyway, and the fact that the man has the balls to get up there and run after his uncle and his father were assassinated. I mean, that's guy's got freaking steel ones on him for sure. Anyway, last thing before I get going here, I wanted to apologize for the last episode. Willow was so grateful to come on the show and to share his story with us of growing up in West Virginia, living in Colorado, getting married, transitioning from female to male. It was incredible to hear Willow's story. However, where I want to apologize is the fact that I did not do a great job of being myself and sharing my own views. Like when Willow flipped the script on us, and great job by him, and asking us what it meant to be a man, I panicked. I was like, man, well, I don't want to fucking offend anybody and all this stuff, all this shit that's not me. My answer to that question is somebody who has an X and a Y chromosome. That's simply what a man is. Now, are there more masculine and feminine traits? 100%. We can go down that road, and that's what I answered the question based off of where I said a protector, somebody who would stand up and protect their family or other people around them, people that are weaker than them. That's a masculine trait, but it's not what a man is. A man is X and Y chromosome, and they were born with a penis and balls. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So I promote this show as, hey, like what we say, you may not like it, it may offend you, but that's okay. That's part of life, and we can't control if you are offended or not. So I feel like I wasn't authentic to myself. I wasn't authentic and fair to the people that do take their time and listen to the show. So I apologize. I think eventually we'll be able to do a second round of that show if Willow would be awesome enough to come on the show and do it again with us. And again, our intent is not to attack anybody. It's not to put anybody down or belittle anybody. Everybody's a human being, whether you're straight, gay, bisexual, transgender, black, white, it doesn't matter. Everybody's a person, but I do want to have those conversations, those confrontational conversations, because we can't just go through life avoiding conflict. If we avoid conflict, then we're never going to get anywhere. And that's another reason why we're in the position that we are as a society is in on social media. Sure, we accept conflict because we know that there's really no fucking repercussions because it's make believe fairyland. But in reality, we don't want to offend anybody when it comes to an in-person confrontation, so we just avoid it completely. And when we do get into them, like we see in the fucking government, they turn into some screaming match, and whose ego is bigger than whose, and who's going to push their agenda harder. And again, that's not what it's all about. It's not about pushing an agenda. It's about coming to a logical conclusion that's best for our society and best for our future. That's what we want to do on the show, and share our opinions and gain understanding too. There were some things that I've learned, like about being transgender, that I didn't know before, that especially, or some different ways to think about it. When I made the point about kids transitioning, like I 100%, I still don't believe that that should be a thing at all. However, it made me think about it when somebody pointed out to me, well, what if that does save their life? Like, what if you don't allow them to do this and they end up taking their own life? Fuck, I don't know. That's a great point. I don't know, but I would assume that that would be a very, very small percentage of the case, and we would have to cross that bridge when and if that time came. But my stance is that somebody who is not legally allowed to buy cigarettes or vote shouldn't be able to mutilate their body in any way, whether that's a girl that wants breast implants, whether it's a guy that wants calf implant, like whatever. It's an elective surgery that doesn't need to happen. A child who does not have a fully functioning or not, excuse me, not does not have a fully developed brain shouldn't be making those choices. If they're an adult and they want to do that, by all means, hey, go do it. But stop pushing it on other people. Stop promoting. Like, here's my thought. I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to necessarily change your opinion. I'm just trying to get you to be a productive member of society. Like my goal is to try to help motivate people to have deep conversations, to treat each other people with respect. Yes, my opinion might be different than yours on many different things. That's not what I'm not trying to change your opinion. I'm just trying to have you think about things and talk about it. You might think I'm an idiot for the conspiracy theory that I put out there. I don't care, but I want you to at least think about it and consider it. But I have people out there now that are just like, oh, I'm not. You question everything. Yeah, you should question things. Like you shouldn't take too much at face value, especially when it's not from people that you can trust. I can't trust the mainstream media. I can't trust the government. There are many, many times there is a shit ton of evidence to say why I shouldn't and why I won't trust those people and those organizations. If it's somebody in my life that I trust, yeah, that's different. Am I going to take them at face value for certain things? Yes, absolutely. But I'm going to question a lot of things because that is how we make true progress. Hey, what you're telling me here, this doesn't make sense. And in order for me to buy into it, I need to understand that more. So, anyway, it was great talking to everybody. I hope you all get some sort of value out of this or some sort of level of entertainment. If you like the show, again, give us a follow, leave us a review. Follow us on social media. We got a YouTube channel. We got Instagram. We got Facebook. We got LinkedIn. We got Twitter. We got it all. And we're putting stuff out there all the time to get people to question things. Some of it's funny. Some of it's serious. But in reality, what it really is about having conversations and making the world a little bit of a better place.
Hey everybody, if you liked what you heard today, please check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And don't forget to head to Eventbrite and grab one of the 10 tickets available for our monthly Ideal Connect call. Then when you're ready to take the next step, message us on any of our social media pages to book a free coaching consultation call to see how we can help you start living your own ideal life. Thanks again for all of your love and support, and always remember, you have everything you need to achieve success. It's just a matter of believing.